Hey, I'm gonna take a moment to talk to you guys about our complete decks. We're doing an Ember right now, Logos graphic. Gonna put it together with Paris 149 millimeter street trucks and seismic speed vents with our AWA bearings in the center. A couple things I just wanted to point out. This is a $222 complete, I believe, altogether. This is a really beefy wheel, pretty expensive wheel, but people are picking that one time and time again, and we have them in several different colors, and the limes for your speedy fellas and gals. But yeah, that's I feel like we're getting a little bit of pushback from, not from our customers per se, but maybe from shops, and who are telling me that customers think that a skateboard is supposed to cost $180 or you know, whatever they're seeing on the shop floors. I just wanted to point out a couple main differences, important differences, and why our boards cost a little bit more, but the justification behind that. So typically, our standard stock complete for $209 for this guy, Ember plus Kegels, that's $209 for a complete deck with Kegels on it. And Kegels are not cheap wheels. They're big, beefy, awesome 80 millimeter wheel. You can get 70 millimeter wheels on your board. It's probably not going to ride as smoothly. Big wheels, they roll over everything. I'm a big believer in big wheels for commuter decks. It makes sense. Secondarily, so yeah, I mean, if I want to put a 70 millimeter wheel on our board, we can bring the price down. Do I think it's worth it? Personally, I think that the big wheel is worth it. You know, some people might disagree, but you know, when you're comparing the $170, $180, maybe $160 complete deck on the shop floor, a lot of those have Chinese wheels on them. Chinese urethane, honestly, it sucks. I've tried it all. I'm like, whoa, maybe I can make a cheap complete, put it on the shop floor. I don't want to do it because I've tried the urethane and it sucks. It doesn't grip very well, and when it releases like you're sliding on ice, and it's really scary. If you're just cruising down the street, it's probably fine. If you're pushing the limits of the wheel, carving hard, you know, and if you're sliding at all, I don't think it's worth it. I think you should have a California-made wheel. You'll be happier with it. Okay, secondarily, I have a built-in bearing here. Now, we sourced these bearings. We spent a year trying to find the bearing that we wanted. I tested a bunch of them. I got this bearing that's been sitting on my table for 6 months now. This is the one that didn't make it. It's actually a pretty decent bearing, but you know, here it's not a built-in. It's not even a choice. I wouldn't even mess with non-built-in bearings because built-in bearings are better. What happens when you put a non-built-in bearing in your board? Well, the main thing is that somebody's going to cheapen it by not putting spacers in it, because they're going to be like, we can save money, we can bring the price down, we can make that price and actually make our margin. It makes sense business-wise. It does not make sense for the ride. I do not support bearing or wheels without bearing spacers in them. This offers no choice. It has to have a bearing spacer, and it is worth it for your ride. It's worth it when you're switching wheels. It makes it 10 times easier to switch wheels, but most importantly, it's not going to rattle. It's not going to break down the bearing near as fast. Your bearings are going to stay faster for longer. They're going to stay cleaner for longer because it's closing off that, you know, it's like a closed system for the bearing. So you don't need that inner shield, which a lot of bearings don't have anyway. But and ours don't either. But we don't need them because we have built-in bearings. It's a closed system. So, anywho. That's my belief. I don't believe that any setup ever should have not built-in bearings. Built-in spacers was developed, 6-7 years ago. It revolutionized skateboarding. It needs to be in your board. If it's not in your board, it's because someone thought that they could sell it for cheaper and make it look better because your board was cheaper. I think of the ride is the most important thing. We put a built-in bearing in there. It costs a tiny bit more. It adds a tiny bit to the cost, but that's you can either replace it down the line or you can have something that's going to last you longer. I choose to last longer. I don't want to make product that needs to be replaced right away, because that's just a waste of energy. It's a waste of material. It's a waste of your time and my money and your money and all that stuff. It's a waste. I don't believe in waste. So, last thing I wanted to point out. Our hardware is designed specifically for these skateboards. This is one thing that I've seen on a few boards that I really don't support. I don't appreciate. You need these little drop-through washers. They belong on your skateboard. I've seen nuts over tightened, and it's really sad when you dig your nut, apply deep into a skateboard that you just bought, and then I don't think it's gonna break or anything, but it increases the likelihood that would happen, certainly, because you have one less ply in a portion of the board, and that should not happen. So, good hardware, good bearings, good inputs. Paris trucks are I think they're the best TKP on the market personally. Traditional kingpin truck for those wondering, and good urethane. Don't skip on any of those things. It's not worth it. You're not gonna enjoy your ride as much. The reason why we're getting rave reviews from everybody who steps on our board is because we input good materials. The decks are laminated with epoxy. They're freaking everything. We're not skipping. Nothing's passed over. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Take care.